Christmas has always been sold to us as a time of cheer, of goodwill towards men, of charitable acts, but it's all a lie. Hey everyone, welcome to the Nightmare Hour.
Oh my
How was
gosh.
that, Adam? How was
That
it? Was
was
it
that
good?
was tremendous. I was
Okay.
taken for a loop. I didn't expect you to tell me it was all a lie. I thought we
Yeah.
were going to talk about toys and Batman coming down the chimney and eating cookies and
Well,
milk. And
you've been doing like the Terry Gross like fresh air kind of NPR introductions. I thought I'd go like Dateline,
oh
like
wow,
just go
but
the
it was
trip.
all a lie tonight
Yeah,
on the Nightmare
like
Hour.
freeze frame on it. But yeah, hey everybody, I'm Eric with Nightmare Hour. I'm talking to Adam, obviously. This is our
Having a conversation.
pre-holiday, yeah, our holiday episode, I guess. I'm not sure what we're doing for the rest of the 2020, but this is our holiday one, right?
This is our holiday episode. You are correct.
Okay.
Well, yeah, this is our holiday episode. I think we've been teasing it for a while as I've gone down the chimney watching all the Christmas films. How dare I?
Yeah. I just was interested. Like, we were trying to think of a topic this time. We were thinking like Christmas movies. We are talking about all the different horror Christmas movies, what we could do. And I've always wondered like where all the traditions come from. And I've heard some of these before, but Christmas is dark. Like, it's worse than Halloween, I think. Like, it's a dark holiday. Like, it's got a lot of crazy traditions. Like, it's kind of slanted into like what we know now. Like going to the toy store, like you're saying, and like the sitting on Santa's lap and all that, like the people ringing bells, all the stuff that we're used to.
I hate.
That's not where Christmas came from.
Well, we already touched a little bit. So we set up the Yule lads. You know, of course, who could forget the Yule lads and Krampus and Saint Nicholas. So we talked a little bit about some traditions, but most of those end prior to Christmas. I guess the Yule lads go up and through Christmas.
They go past, yeah. They don't care.
Yeah, but there's a lot of other traditions and maybe even characters, and yeah, I'm excited. Eric's just gonna tell me things that I don't even know. I'm also gonna tell you things maybe that you don't even know.
Yeah, I mean, that's what we do. We've even did less prep for this episode than I think we usually do, so it's gonna be a wild ride.
No, it'll be incredible. Everyone knows we do a lot of research.
Okay, I'm gonna just start then. Let's do it.
Give me something. Throw one at me.
Christmas carolers, right? Like this heartfelt walking by to people's houses. It's always at the end of movies when someone's real sad, and it always brings them up, and it's like a sign of goodwill, right?
Yeah. Well, have you ever gone Christmas caroling? Have you ever had Christmas carolers and or gone?
I'm not sure they actually exist, because I've only seen them in movies.
Wow, what a way for you to answer that question. I don't think they exist, so I couldn't have been a part, and I've never seen them.
Have you ever seen them?
No, but I've multiple times this year said we're going Christmas caroling to Ashley. I'm like, we're gonna do it, and I don't think she believes we're gonna do it, but I feel like I'm gonna have enough nog one night that I'm gonna get out and about and sing some songs. I don't know what song I would sing. They're all a little weird.
Yeah, that's something we could look up too. I didn't look up Christmas carols. I'm sure those got some like it's kind of like the old limericks and stuff you hear where you're like, oh, that's about the plague. It's probably something like that. I bet you a lot of old Christmas songs are real dark when you look back. But what I have is caroling started in the 1700s, and at the time they were called wassailers. They would arrive at home unannounced and demand to be given the residents' finest food and drink. They would threaten violence, to rape, to destroy property, sing songs such as "We've come here to claim our right, and if you don't open up your door, we'll lay it flat upon the floor." Like, this is where it comes from. So
that's spooky.
Yeah, so it was just a riot, basically.
It was just a riot.
It was looters, like carolers or looters. Like, when do they stop coming inside, you think?
I think people stopped opening their doors to them, and then they were just like, well, I guess we should find a new activity. And then they started going down one at a time your chimneys. Maybe that's
a
how
whole other thing. Yeah, there's a whole like tradition. We'll get to that with the chimney thing, because it's creepy too, which is always anyway creepy. Like, there's somebody coming down your chimney. That's not
good.
Safe. That's not
No.
okay.
No,
it's not socially okay. You knock on the door, or you ask permission, like a vampire, like a proper, polite, spiritual being. Wait, are they spiritual? No, they're just undead.
Did you know? I mean, this probably seems obvious for a lot of people, but Christmas either, well, I think it changes. I'm not really sure, but much like Halloween, during the Christmas time or Christmas Day, the veil is the thinnest, and that's between the dead and the living, just like
Oh, really?
Halloween. Yeah, because I guess maybe because I'm guessing because of the solstice, right?
Yeah, I think so. Which we can go on to, like Christmas was put on that date because it was close to the Roman festival of Saturnalia and winter solstice.
Hmm.
So before that, like Christ's birth was marked like 3 different dates at least: March 29th, January 6th, and then sometime in June. They only put it on December 25th to try to get people to convert. And so they already put it on this festival that was already happened, this Saturnalia. But Saturnalia is the purge, is what it is. That's basically what happens. It involved unrestrained drinking, role reversals between slaves and their masters. So it was like master for a day.
What?
Schools were closed.
Wait, first of all, what was it? Unrestricted drinking?
Yeah. Unrestrained. So
Unrestrained. Like usually they're like, oh, is that your third beer, Eric? But then on this night, you're like, no. You can't hold me back. I will have 5 beers tonight and run naked through the streets.
But here's the purge part. Criminals were allowed to run rampant. There were no arrests during this festival, and the wealthy were encouraged to give gifts to the poor in order to avoid robbery. So it's the purge.
It is the purge. But it sounds like if you were on the lower side of the totem, this was really your night.
Yeah, it's your night to shine.
It doesn't sound like it was great for people of power or that were wealthy.
No, this is like when Ethan Hawke built his Panic House. Like, that's what it is.
Yeah.
But what a day to put the birth of Christ over, like this festival. Like, can we get these holidays together? Like, just team up here. Come to save man and also pillage and purge. But no one could be arrested on this day. Isn't that insane? Like, you could do whatever you wanted.
Yeah, that is pretty insane, actually. Well, I have a little tradition here from Wales I can tell you about briefly.
Ooh, I love Welsh traditions.
There's a lot to it, but it's called Mary Laud, I believe. Mary Laud.
So that's in Welsh? I think it's actually
the Mary Laud, which,
is that like the Yule lads?
It's probably, well, in Welsh, it's probably like very loud, very loud.
Mm.
Does that sound good?
Yeah, sure.
Okay. It's probably very loud. Well, it's a South Wales tradition where they put a horse's skull on a pole and they carry it around and they're hidden underneath like a cloak, basically. And like, I guess there's other like hooded animal traditions throughout Europe. But this was performed on Christmas by typically groups of men. It's very creepy. You've probably seen these things. Like, I didn't know what this was for, but they would go around and basically like knock on people's doors and they would chant and it was just like I don't know, creepy.
Were they caroling?
I don't know.
Like,
I think
it sailors?
No, it's a celebration. Like, they're like singing and chanting and like it's kind of a party. It's kind of a Day of the Dead style party, it looks like, but a very like more rudimentary version. And it doesn't look like they like hurt anybody. I mean, I think it would scare kids, but excuse me. I think they're just kind of partying in the streets.
All right.
It's just
I dig it.
It's just a party, and then that's what Welsh people do.
Welsh people do know how to party, in general. I'm gonna go like to what you were saying earlier, like the chimney thing came from like so many European legends that are terrifying. There's like the legend of this one's called a little brownie. It's a household spirit that enters and exists at homes at night through the chimney. It's like a little friendly, like it does like a little household chores and stuff. So that one's not so bad.
Yeah.
But Middle Ages, witches also came into homes through chimneys, and then goblins in Greece called I'm just going to go for it, the Calicantigiori. Nope.
Yeah.
Didn't get it. Were known to crawl into homes through the chimney and terrorize families within. Like they just come in and fuck up your shit. So they're kind of like the Yule lads, I guess, but through the chimney.
Not as cool, but yeah, they're definitely Yule
Yeah.
lad-esque.
And then 19th century Pennsylvania, our own little country, Pelsnickel or Belsnickel slipped down chimneys to reward good children with oranges and punish naughty ones with a whip. So a little Krampus there.
Yeah.
Like they came with a mission. You got that's a weird bag, by the way. Like I got oranges and I got a whip. Like it's like I've got I came here to whip and share oranges and I'm all out of oranges.
I want them to say that. We have to write through that movie. So delete that out of this episode so no one says it.
Yeah. Okay. Do you have another one? Are we taking turns?
I do.
Or you
Well,
want me to
mine
go
is
again?
just kind of a statement, I guess. Well, it's just like a thing. It's a legend from Europe. I'm trying to see if there's any like particular area this comes from. I mean, I know that Germany and Poland are listed here, but it looks like it's kind of just anywhere. Well, in Germany and Poland, if you were born in the 12 nights of Christmas, you have a high chance of becoming a werewolf. In other parts, if you're born specifically on Christmas Eve or Christmas Day, you are just gonna be a werewolf when you reach puberty, especially if a male was born. Females born on Christmas Eve are said to become witches, obviously, because men are werewolves. They're hairy beasts, and women are witches.
Was that did you do it the winter solstice, you think? Like the longest night kind of thing? Maybe.
Sure, we can say that. I don't know. I like that. I mean, there's not a lot of information. I tried to find more of what you were talking. I was like, I need to know more about why you could become a werewolf, and then I didn't really get anything else. But I do like the prospect of just being born at a certain time frame. It increases you exponentially to become a werewolf. That's fun.
I have a mistletoe one. Like mistletoe is like, couples giving kissy smoochy smoochies now. But it was a druid thing, and because of that, it was banned by religious leaders at the time, like in England when Christianity and all that started. But then after that, it became a sign of pardon. So like if you were a criminal, they had this mistletoe service each winter, and during that service, criminals from the town could come and like bring a little thing of mistletoe, and then they'd be pardoned for their wrongdoings. So if you partied too hard on Saturnalius, you just come back with your mistletoe and everything is good.
I like that. I think that's, well, is that why like mistletoe has seemingly disappeared from the world, or at least my world? Do you see mistletoe a lot?
Every time I've seen a caroler, I've seen mistletoe. It doesn't really exist.
Well, especially like actual mistletoe, like every once in a while I think I see it, but it's plastic.
Yeah. That's where I'm at too. I think I've seen like, and I don't even know if it's true, but someone like puts it up and it's this little plastic thing. It could be part of the plastic Christmas tree for all I know, but they like hang it up and say, hey, that's mistletoe. I'm like, okay. It's usually just green with like a ribbon on it.
This is one of my favorite things, and I'm going to do it this year, is in Norway. Norway has a lot of cool shit. I'm just gonna say it. Like their traditions are just like, they're just the most superstitious people, I think. So they believe that the veil's the thinnest. So there's all sorts of creatures running amok out there doing God knows what. But it's the darkest time of the year, and in Norway, well, I mean, Norway is really high up there, so they must have very little light. Like where we have like, we have like 10 hours or 9 hours of daylight. They must have even less. I'm guessing. I don't know.
They're up there to the Arctic area. I would say so.
Yeah. They have 6 hours right now. They have 6 hours of daylight, so it is truly just pure darkness. But they hide on Christmas Eve, they hide their brooms because they're afraid that witches would be coming around. And if they found their brooms, they would make traveling throughout the night and going door to door and wreaking havoc easier. Why don't witches have their own brooms? Why are they stealing people's brooms here?
Seriously.
What if that's how all the witches, what if that's how they eradicated the witches? They're like, well, we couldn't find brooms for 10 years because we were hiding them. So we just, we all got careers accountants. Or something,
we're all CPAs now.
Yeah, we're all CPAs. Like, because what I mean, surely like that's like how you eradicate something, right? You take away how it prospers.
Why do they need brooms?
I don't know. Why do you? Yeah,
why just cleaning incessantly?
Well, if hocus pocus is to be believed, any object that looks similar, like a vacuum,
Yeah. Seriously, or a mop or
Yeah, a mop would work for sure. Like that, maybe that's what happened. Like maybe that's where the Swifter was invented, because it's not quite a mop, but not a broom either.
yeah.
Hmm.
Which approved or which repellent? I don't know what you're getting at.
You tell me. I don't know. Write us a letter and let us know. Do you have another one?
Safer.
I'm finding a bunch of offshoots, and it's
Yeah.
terrific. I'm
I
learning
want to
so
talk
many new fine things.
the one I really want to talk about because I never really paid attention. I just know they give the dolls out and people go see it around Christmas is the Nutcracker. Are you aware of the story of the original story of this?
No.
Like the 1816 The Nutcracker and the Mouse King by German author E.T.A. Hoffman. Uh, in that tale, a 7-year-old girl named Marie slices her arm open after being startled by a vision of her toy Nutcracker coming to life. As she recuperates, her godfather, Drosselmeyer, tells her the tale of a man cursed with the ugliness of a Nutcracker by a heartless queen. Marie declares that she would love the Nutcracker no matter what his appearance, and is subsequently whisked away into the doll kingdom and then marries him. The two are wed within a year of meeting, which means, I mean, if you did the math from what I just said, she was 8 years old.
Wow.
So that's the Nutcracker. That's the Nutcracker.
I did not know
Starts
that.
starts with an arm slashing, ends with like not okay marriage.
Not yeah. Well, do you think like I don't know how like old timey stories like the Bible and stuff are like they don't
Mhm.
understand time.
I guess so. And like when people died when they're like 13 and stuff
Yeah, so
back
she might
then.
have
So
been like 80. I don't know.
yeah.
It's
But
truly hard
still,
to say.
like I don't yeah, I don't think even back then that would be okay though, right?
No, no, definitely not. I have a story here from the Ukraine, Western Ukraine. Would you like to hear it?
Always.
So this
Ukraine's not
is
fooling around. I know that about the Ukrainians. So I'm
well,
excited.
this is I mean it's also in some other countries, but like this specific one I'm going to tell you, this variant is from the Ukraine. So there's a story. It goes like this: a poor but hardworking widow once lived in a small hut with her children. One summer day, a pine cone fell on the earthen floor of the hut and took root. The widow's children cared for the tree, excited at the prospect of having a Christmas tree by winter. The tree grew, but when Christmas Eve arrived, they could not afford to decorate it. The children sadly went to bed and fell asleep. Early the next morning, they woke up and saw the tree covered with cobwebs. When they opened the
Ah,
windows, first rays of sunlight touched the webs and turned them into gold and silver. The widow and her children were overjoyed. From then on, they never lived in poverty again. And that's the story of the Christmas spider.
why didn't they live in poverty ever again?
Because they had the web turned to actual silver and gold that they could sell.
Oh, just not like in the light. I thought it was figurative, like in the sunlight. So it
Yeah.
literally. But who's gonna buy like gold cobwebs? Like, is there a market for
I
that?
think they're gonna melt it down and treat the
Oh,
spiders
okay.
like giving like shit. But I guess
It's like the
and
golden
it,
goose egg kind of thing.
yeah, in Germany, Poland, and Ukraine, finding a spider or spider's web on a Christmas tree is considered good luck.
Hmm.
So and then they make like
Do you
there's a
still
lot of
kill it?
yeah, you still burn their house down, but there's a lot of ornaments and different figures still today that are like silver spider webs or gold spider webs that people put on their trees.
Is that what like tinsel is, kind of maybe?
That's what they say. They say the tradition of using tinsel is said to be become because of this story, but who knows that's true.
That's
Did
all of
you like
this.
my
Like,
story?
I did. I loved it.
Your eyes lit up like he's reading a bedtime story.
I needed to like crawl up and get my blankie.
Get your blankie, yeah, and really relax.
Uncle
Uh,
Adam.
why is it always an uncle? You know?
I don't know. Like I've never, again, like carolers and mistletoe. I've never met an uncle that's just like, I'll read you a bedtime story.
Yeah,
They're
yeah,
always like
no,
drunk and smoking on the porch.
yeah, that's true. Do you have another story?
I can. I'm looking through here. I'm sorry. I got enraptured by your story there. It was
No.
oh yeah, this one. I think we talked about this before we started recording, but like stockings. Like it started with like straight up poverty. 4th century bishop that I'll reveal the name in a little bit. We've talked about him before though. Happened to overhear an elderly man talking about the fact that he wouldn't have enough money to supply his $3 with a dowry, which you know that the dowries back then is like if you didn't have that, you couldn't get married because women were objects and you had to like trade and barter. It was like Wall Street for ladies. It's like, yeah, it had to be worth something. But the legend is that this bishop was so moved by this story that he crept into the family's home at night, which is weird, right? Like bishops breaking and entering.
I mean, yeah, you shouldn't just knock on the door, man. What are we doing?
I know, like show up, like do like the charity thing where you knock on, you're like surprise, like sneaking in. Like it sounds like he got caught to me, and he's just like, oh no. I was like I was so moved by the story that like like. But anyway, that's not a normal reaction. But
Yeah,
anyway,
no.
that's what he did. And then he filled their stockings, which had been hung by the fireplace to dry, with bags of gold, which that doesn't sound very Catholic either.
Well, yeah, this sounds like this guy's very rich, and this is just doesn't even make sense here.
I think it goes, yeah, the Catholics take your gold. I think that's generally like the normal way to do things. But anyway, yeah, they found that in the morning, and obviously now they're rich and they lived ever after. And the bishop was but the one, the only, later sainted Saint Nicholas.
Oh, come on.
Yeah.
He can't do it all, man. This is just out of control.
I think that's kind of where the shoes must have come from too then.
Yeah.
But like what happened to him? He's giving away gold and now he just leaves like suckers in people's shoes and stuff. Saint Nick fell on hard times.
Yeah, he's giving it all away. He's the Warren Buffett of it.
He just needs to find that spider.
Yeah. Oh yeah, this Charlotte.
Yeah.
Old Charlotte just spinning out those webs. Well, I have a story here from Portugal, and the Portuguese have a fest called Constanata. And in the early morning hours on Christmas Day, they it's like any other feast, but it sounds like they do their dinner is a brunch, but they set extra places at the table for people who have passed. It's called the Souls of the Dead, and in some areas they leave crumbs on the hearth for the souls. But it's just like a little creepy thing that they do. You know, they eat with somebody. It kind of seems like a waste of food. Like, do you think they like put it there and then they're like, all right, after it's done, they're like.
Yeah, whatever.
Or we're all eating, and then you keep. We've eaten all the potatoes, and everyone wants more mashed potatoes, and they're like looking at the plate. They're looking at the plate. They're looking at the plate. Like, you can't take Papa's potatoes, and then like everybody's like, look, a Christmas spider. And they say, take Papa's potatoes, and they're like, oh my gosh, he's here.
Papa?
I don't know. It just
I like that it is.
It felt right. Would you got something else? I have a bunch here. I have quite the traditions here.
Yeah, go for it. I've like you have me like on the edge of my seat right now.
Oh, well, this one comes from France. This is Hans Trapp, and he was a rich, cruel man, and he worshipped the devil, as you always do, and he would do anything in his power to become more rich, more powerful. And he is eventually excommunicated and had to live in the forest. And then in the forest, he became a cannibal. And on Christmas Day, he would go out dressed as a scarecrow, trying to kidnap and eat bad children.
Ooh. Why would you dress up as a scarecrow?
Seems like a weird thing, but there's some cool drawings of him online. So if you're
there always is. I've got another person. I don't think we've talked about this person before. I think it'd be Pierre Fouchard. It's French. It's like I don't know, Pierre Fouchard. That's what I'm going for.
I like it.
Celebrated in France, Belgium, and Switzerland. He was a butcher, and he and his wife were kidnapped, robbed, and killed. I'm sorry. He and his wife were not kidnapped. They did the kidnapping, and they robbed and killed wealthy children. That's what they did for their pastime. They carved up the children's bodies and hid them in salting barrels.
Wow.
And guess what?
So they're making some jerky here, huh?
Yeah, kid jerky. And guess what? Guess who came to save the day?
St. Nicholas.
Swear to God. St. Nicholas discovered the crime and brought the children back to life.
Wow. Did he pour gold over them?
The
rich asshole.
As punishment, though, St. Nicholas forced Pierre Fouchard into bondage as his eternal cannibal manservant, as we all need. He has his own. St. Nicholas has his own cannibal manservant, and his job now is he follows St. Nicholas around dealing with problem children.
You know what's weird? This one popped up. I have two. These are like sidebar discussions we could just have about weird things we still do today. The first one is, and this seems obvious, so what is happening there?
What?
Just like a weird thing popped up on this website, and
Oh, like
all I
websites
could
do, yeah.
all I could hear is this horrible, horrible thing. All right, it's over, everybody. I'm fine. But gingerbread houses, right? So they come from the Grimm fairy tale Hansel and Gretel, and people build the houses in their own house just like they did in the story. That's a weird thing, right? Because like you're in that story, like a witch built this appetizing house out of candy to lead kids in to trick them to eat them. But we're building houses to what? Trick ourselves? Why are we doing it besides that it's just fun? Who heard that story and was like, I'm going to build my own little house, trap my own little kids? Tell me.
I don't know. Why would you? That's a great question. Like,
have you built a gingerbread house in the last 10 years?
I think that carolers do that. I don't think I've ever seen one except for at stores. Gingerbread cookies, yes, but houses?
Maybe you should build one this year.
They are delicious. Can I have delicious. Them? Are they vegan?
Yeah. Well, I mean, gingerbread, I'm sure you can get like a vegan gingerbread, and then like you can make your own icing and put whatever candies you want on there.
That's true. Yeah. And they've got so many. I could totally do it.
Yeah.
You're right. Should I do it and like take photos?
And then eat it.
It is delicious.
When I was a kid, we would make them, but like they were like, oh, you can't eat it though because we use glue. And I'm like, what? Why did we use glue? Like nothing. We don't have any bonding agent other than super glue on this thing. So you're just making this candy copia that I can't even eat. What a time! I just remember that.
What a world we live in.
I should really question my mother about what she did.
Oh, anyways. There's also a South African one that's kind of fun. That it started because you leave out cookies for Santa just like everywhere else. But apparently the kids kept eating them back then. It was a big problem. South African children just stealing cookies from Santa. So parents began to tell their children of the Danny, a boy who tried to eat Santa's cookies. He was caught by the grandmother. So the punishment was that she killed him. So now Danny's ghost.
Is that really a pun? All right. Okay.
And then Danny's ghost haunts the home of naughty children at Christmas time. That's so he's watching the cookies and you like, if you have any thoughts about the cookie, you got Danny over the shoulder.
Interesting. In Finland, another thing that they like to do, in Europe, it seems like they really do treat this much more closer to Halloween, which makes sense because a lot of these are pagan rooted traditions. But they go to the cemetery on Christmas Eve and they light candles at the gravestones of their family that have died. And it's that's a nice little tradition.
Yeah, it's a nice little moment to remember. Yeah.
And if you tried to do that in America, they'd say, "No, we have a whole day for that. It's called Memorial Day. Stop. Put your flags out and stop."
That sounds very American.
I know. I tried to use my.
You nailed your American. Yeah, that was good. You nailed the American voice.
What do you think about the elf on a shelf? That's like the newest tradition.
I don't like it.
It's creepy.
I don't like anything. Like I've always hated, like, I mean, we're going way more extreme in this, but just to back up to where we are now, like the Santa's watching you, you got to be good or you're going to like do this. And there's this elf spying on you and all this nonsense we do. Like it's very, not to get too serious, but it's very like classist. Like I grew up really poor and I never had shit. So I just assumed I was a shitty person. like I just got shitty presents. And usually it was like from charity where it'd say like, gift for a 12-year-old boy, and I'm like, oh sweet, like, oh look, it sucks, like, so I grew up that way. So I just don't like that like equivalency. Like you're telling kids that if your parents can't afford to buy you something nice, then you were shitty this year. Like I don't like that. It's a terrible tradition.
Yeah, it is. But Elf on a Shelf is just such a weird tradition. Like I think
it is a spying on you, and you have to like, I don't know, it's like, that's what I mean. Like Christmas's soul is this thing, as we said when we started, but you also have this little agent of fucking Santa sitting in your house, taking notes,
judging you. Yeah.
Yeah. Like, how is this good? This is everything we've said so far is like, it's just proof. Like Halloween doesn't even have this many like disturbing like traditions. It's just what it is. Like I think if you did this with any holiday, like worldwide holiday, you'd find the same disturbing stuff. We're just kind of messed up as a race, I think.
I mean, yeah, humans are just the weirdest fucking people. Here's the weirdest fucking story I'm going to give you, I think, probably this whole time. This one comes from deep, like small little countries in France and Spain, like little valleys, little towns. They celebrate something called Tio de Nala, which means Christmas log. And I think I had heard about this, but then as I'm reading this, I'm like, no. But the log now is usually you can just go buy one, but people make them. It's usually
like
on
the
like
Yule logs or something, or
well, no, this is usually like they paint a face on it and they give it like a little Christmassy hat, like a red stocking cap, and then they and it's usually got like propped up on like with two sticks or something. But but beginning with the Feast of the Immaculate Conception, which we already missed December 8th. I can't believe we missed it. One gives the log a little bite to eat every night, usually covering him and usually covers him with a blanket so that he will not be cold. The story goes that in the days preceding Christmas, children will take good care of the log, keeping it warm and feeding it so that it will defecate presents on Christmas Day. On Christmas Day, in some households, or on Christmas Eve, one puts the log partly into the fireplace and orders it to defecate. The fire part of the tradition is no longer as widespread as it once was, since many modern homes don't have a fireplace. But to make it defecate, one now beats it with sticks while singing various songs to the log. The tradition says that before beating the log, all the kids have to leave the room and go to another place of the house to pray, asking the log to deliver presents. Today, the praying tradition has been left behind. Children now go to another room, like a kitchen or a closet, to warm their stick next to the fire. This makes a perfect excuse for relatives to do the trick and put the presents under the blanket while the kids are praying. The log does not drop larger objects, as those are considered to be brought by the three wise men. But it does leave,
I just thought it was a matter of like logistics. Like
it does, yeah,
coming out.
It does leave like candy and like small toys and things like that. And it may even give you dried figs, which is, I guess, a treat to be listed separately.
There's no way I'm eating a dry fig that comes out of a log.
Now it is now popularly called the shitting log or the poo log. So there you have it. And here's a little song called
You're singing?
Not like a sing it. It's more of like a poem. It's a very short poem. There are many different songs, but here are a few examples. And this is just the song. And this is just shit log, shit nuggets, hazelnuts, and Mateo cheese. If you don't shit well, I'll hit you with a stick. Shit log, shit log.
Jesus.
What a shitty thing, no pun intended, to do to this little log.
How did this catch on? Like
it didn't catch on, Eric. I told you it was two very tiny towns in France and Spain.
That's two towns too many.
Well, somehow it went from Spain to France. Had to jump a border at some part. So somebody is like, I'm taking the shit log tradition.
I can see like your uncle being like, we're going to do shit log this year. And then, but that's not like two towns doing it.
I think it's probably wide. I think it's probably very widespread now, right? It's gotta be. It is. No. What a fascinating tradition. One that I'm going to carry on for generations.
I don't like it. That's the worst thing we've talked about on this podcast. And we talked about some awful things.
Do you have
one? I have one more, and then maybe we should like shift into like Christmas movies or something. Maybe.
Sure. Yeah.
Oh, I just wanted to talk about this one because I never heard of it. It's Eastern Europe, so Ukraine again. We're going to do some hardcore. Like they don't mess around. It's about Frau Perchta, which means the Christmas witch. She has two faces, and one's of nice, and she shows up the nice children. Then she has a scary face, and she shows the bad ones. She comes into the homes on the 12th night of Christmas and leaves a piece of silver and the shoes of nice children. But if you're a bad child, she does something a little different. She takes the step of slitting open the child's belly, takes out the organs, and replaces them with pebbles and straw.
Wow. Pebbles are heavy.
Krampus, Krampus is even like, whoa, like calm down, Frau.
It's not that serious. Like just leave a piece of coal or something,
Yeah. Like whip them, sure. Give them an orange, whatever. But like she went nuts. Okay. That's all I have.
That's pretty serious.
So I think we've proved without any doubt that Christmas is disturbing as hell. Like,
Yeah, and also that maybe we're doing it wrong in
yeah.
America.
Like it
we
could be
don't.
greater than Halloween. Like if we,
I'm surprised we haven't seen like because like people Halloween's got continues to go upward in its trajectory of popularity. And then you have more people becoming less religious or less like by the book and more and celebrations and traditions changing. I'm surprised we haven't seen like some tonal shift into some of these fun dark things.
yeah, I think so. I think that I don't, I, well, to me, it's why Halloween's my favorite holiday is because it is kind of like fun, but you're dealing with these dark subjects and like, but you're doing it in a fun way. So it's kind of like skirting that, like acknowledging the dark stuff, but then still have a good time with it, like partying with your demons, partying with anxiety or death or whatever. Just like it's all happened. Let's have a good time. It's like the shrug of holidays. Yeah. But I think we should do that with more holidays. So anything that gets us to like Christmas traditions where we can be a little scarier.
A
I'm into
little
it.
creepier, yeah. Well, that was an unexpected, fun little walk down.
I had
we
no
did
idea.
we kind of did 2 episodes on
Traditions, yeah.
traditions, and there's probably a lot more out there. We really only stuck in Europe. We didn't even really go to. I'm sure there's some fascinating, like Russian and Asian countries that probably have pretty crazy traditions. I would imagine because everyone else does.
Yeah. I mean, why not? I don't know how we're gonna top the poo log though.
The poo log.
Yeah.
I tried to go out on top, but yeah.
I just went really dark. I just like disemboweled children. That's how I ended it. So you're welcome, everyone.
So this will now open up for the last part of this episode, which I think we have like 20 or 30 minutes or something.
Yeah, something like 20ish. Yeah.
I've watched a lot of Christmas movies this year, a lot of things I have never seen before that I've only heard about, and I've just well, not all of them are good. I would say there's probably more bad than good, but yeah, I guess we can just get into it, and you can tell me if you've seen them, and we'll just give like a minute or two per movie or something like that, unless there's some good ones. We already talked about Krampus, so we won't really touch upon that. We're both big fans, I think, of that film. So yeah,
absolutely.
That's one that is a perennial for me. So I'll go like good, bad, or kind of like in that route, so we can talk a little bit and talk quickly about them. The next one I will talk about is a movie that I think has a pretty big cult following. And this is the first year I've sat down and watched it from start to finish. It wasn't just me watching a couple scenes or in the background. And that was the film Rare Exports. Have you seen this movie?
I have. Yeah. I was disappointed in it.
Same. So
it's such a great concept. Like I thought.
Yeah. It just maybe it's because it was built up, but I usually don't like hype. Hype doesn't usually get in my mind of movies. But I was excited to watch it. I love the concept, but for me, like pretty much all of it fell a little flat. Like it was just like maybe the casting was off. Like there's just like every scene was just like it wasn't as charming or as funny or as scary. It was just like kind of in this weird like I'm none of those things.
Yeah, and from memory, I haven't seen it in a long time, but I remember like the pacing's a little off too. Like you don't really have any like rhythm to it. It's just kind of like stuff happening and then it's over. Like there's no like escalation or anything. It's just kind of
like, well, yeah, nothing really happens. Like you see like the giant Santa Claus who's still frozen in ice. You get a bunch of like naked old men running, chasing you. And that's kind of it. And it's kind of, I don't know. I know a lot of people really like it, and I wanted to like it. I think it was just fine. I think it missed the mark a lot for me. I think it would have been a good, maybe a better short film, more concise.
There's one. I don't know if you saw this one this year. I've actually never seen it, but I learned an interesting like tidbit this year via social media. But Christmas Evil.
I watched it.
The guy that's in that is Fiona Apple's dad.
Yeah,
I did no idea.
Excuse me.
That's weird.
You should watch it because
is it good?
So that was a film that I thought. I'm not a big exploitation fan, and there's a lot of movies in like the 70s, 80s that are just like, and even 90s that are just like just not my vibe. They're not fun. They're more mean spirited. And there's a couple on this list that I'll bring up. And I thought Christmas Evil, because of the marketing, because of the kind of the setup for it, was going to be that movie. But then I had heard the reason the movie, you can even see it today, is because it's one of John Waters' favorite films. And I was like, well, now my interest is a little piqued. It's his favorite Christmas movie, but it's also one of his favorite films, period. And the movie is really good. It has more in common with something like Psycho. It's more about the psychology of a person than it is like, I expect it to be more like, Silent Night, Deadly Night, or like, maybe like Maniac or something like that, where it's just like, kind of cruel and mean spirited. But this is like,
Yeah.
I felt bad for the character watching it and what he's going through and what he's seen. But the story is basically like, as a child, this little boy sees his mom kissing Santa Claus, but it's a little bit more than Santa Claus.
So it's like that song, but dark.
Yeah, but it's a little more gropey and a little more confusing for a small young person, and that kind of sets him in the back of his mind on a trajectory. And then he's, I think it's like 30 or 40 years later, he's working at a toy store, and he's kind of picked on and bullied a little bit, and he's maybe he's not the sharpest tool in the box. We don't really know too much. But that's all I'll leave it at. But aesthetically, it's like a very timeless feeling film. Like it's got it feels kind of like a Christmas Story. It feels very classic, and it's good. It's on Shudder now. You could buy the Blu-ray for a couple bucks. Yeah, it's really good. I was quite surprised, especially for a slasher that I haven't seen. It's one of, I've owned it for a while because we've shown it at the theater a few times, but I was just scared because of the advertising. It was originally called You Better Watch Out. But yeah, it's certainly worth watching. It's very stylistic. I think it might, if you're a really fan of this podcast, you will like it. If you like things like Psycho, I think it's more psychological horror. It still has a little bit of a twist. Like it still falls into, it becomes a slasher, but it's different. It's from the perspective of the killer.
I'm into it. I've never seen it. How did I miss this?
Well, it was hard to find for a long time. Like 2018 or 17 is when the remaster came out. And that was thanks to John Waters. Like he helped it get to the remaster, to the new life, to the ability for it to be out there and seen.
And Fiona Apple's dad.
Yeah.
Who knew? So if you want a little peek into what her childhood must have been like.
Yeah. The next one that I watched that I was not a fan of, I don't know if you've seen this, is a movie called A Christmas Horror Story from 2015.
I don't think I'm going to look that up because I don't know that from the title.
It's an anthology film that's tied together with William Shatner. This movie,
no, I haven't seen that. That
just
sounds awful.
Don't let the 83% Rotten Tomato rating fool you. This movie can go to hell. This movie is a disaster in every which way.
Oh God, I'm looking at this. I'm looking at the screenshots and the IMDb stuff. It does not look good.
It is a disaster. So yeah, I in my opinion, you steer clear of this. The stories don't feel like they fit together at all. It's three different filmmakers making three stories that were probably made totally separate, and they decided to like glue them together to make an anthology film, and it falls flat as shit for me. So I say steer clear of A Christmas Horror Story.
Can I do one that I really like that we've talked about a little bit? Because I saw this one like the one year I went to Fantastic Fest when our short was playing there. I think it was called Safe Neighborhood at that point.
Mm-hmm.
And it absolutely blew me away. Like I adored it, and I told people about it, but it took a long time to get distribution. I don't think it came out for like another year or two after that, and it's retitled Better Watch Out, and it is fantastic. I don't think enough people know or have seen this. I've never really heard anyone talk about it, but it's a Chris Peckover film, and it basically is like, I don't know how you describe what it is. Like it's kind of like a home invasion / crime with the babysitter and the young boy, and anything else would probably be spoilery, but it's so clever and so much like that balance that you want from a horror movie like this, where it's really dark, it's really disturbing, but it also is somehow a lot of fun to watch.
Well, the performances are so strong in that film. And so, yes, they're so good. But yeah, the less you know, like the better about that film.
Yeah.
It's also on Shudder now. it's it didn't get a great release. We showed it here a couple times on its initial release. I loved that movie. It's
Yeah.
I think that would be a perennial one for me. Like it's a
And it's
demented story in a lot of ways, but
yeah,
it's
and
it's never mean spirited in a way a lot of films are.
yeah, it's still like balances that I don't know, like fantasy slash fun thing. It never feels like really weird and gross and dirty and dark and real. And it also like you and I watch tons of movies and write movies. And this is one of those movies where it always kept me on the edge of my seat and I didn't really know what was going on next. And
Yeah,
that both like thrills me as a writer because it doesn't happen that very often because we've seen so many, but it also kind of makes me mad that they did that. Like I feel like I should be able to figure it out. So it's a great feeling. Like it's a great movie. Go rent it. I don't know where it's at
Shutter.
to rent. Shutter still.
Yep.
Looks like
A
it's
lot of
on Prime too, Amazon Prime, whatever you have.
Yeah. I watched Black Christmas 1974 in its entirety for the very first time. I also watched Black Christmas 2019. And
did you watch the one in the middle, the remake in the middle too?
I have seen it. It's not available anywhere, so I don't know if I want to pay $4 to watch it because I remember it being
bad.
like I remember the kills being good, but the movie being bad.
Yeah, it's the worst of the three for sure.
I will say the 2019 one could have been very good. I think it handles. I think the last act falls apart, but I think the first hour is pretty solid. Actually, I think it just think it collapses.
Yeah, I don't think it's made for people, for us, and for like our age. I think it's more of a teenage to like early 20s film because I was the same way. Like I love the approach, I love the theme of the new one, I love what it was trying to do, but it seemed like really like the writing was heavy-handed and then it went too like on the nose at the end, just like banging your head against everything. But my kid saw it separate of me. Like she's I guess she's a teen now, and she loved it. So I think if you're in that scope, who it's trying to talk to, like girls of a certain age, then it's a great movie.
Although I think thematically there's a pretty bad prospect of what it's telling women to do, which is stand up to your accuser, or if you're a victim, that you can just go to the person who did something to you and beat them up or call them out. And that's like, that's probably not the best thing to tell people to do.
Yeah, I don't think it's like literal. It's pretty like fanciful. I don't think it's saying like go revenge kill or anything. I don't think that it's really doing that. But like,
yeah, it's pretty heavy on the victims should just vocalize their stuff and everything's going to be okay. And that's not necessarily the truth.
I don't know.
But it wasn't a bad movie. But I agree that that it's not horrible. It's not 38% Rotten Tomatoes bad. It's just it stumbles at the end and it doesn't land its ending.
I just think it's kind of I don't know how to like explain. I think it's just made for someone that's not us, and I think that kind of like because a lot of the themes and stuff as adults we all know and we've all dealt with, and this is a very like I don't want to say simplistic, but very like straightforward explanation of the dynamic of that, like what that all is, and it doesn't seem very storyteller-ish when you know that stuff and you've dealt with all this stuff. And there's other movies that deal with it like much more artistically and subtly. But I don't think that's what they're going for. They're just going for like talking about it to like a younger crowd, I think.
Yeah. But the original 1974. So I've wanted to watch this movie. I've tried to watch this movie a couple of times. For some reason I've always put it on at like 1 a.m. and it is a slow burn movie. But I'm an idiot for not watching it sooner, not giving it the time. Like I gave it a proper watch. I watched it like 7 o'clock. And it's a great film and
I love it. Yeah.
Do you think we can talk spoilery about that or should we not?
It's 1974. I think we should be able
okay.
to.
Well,
we can give like a 5-second countdown if you want.
5-second countdown, and it'll just be a 30-second little thing. All right. Now, spoilers. When it got to the end, and it was about halfway point when it's revealed to like finally like the cops are like the call's coming from inside the house. I was like, holy shit! Is this the origin story of the babysitter story?
I could be. Yeah, I don't know. I have to look at the time on that. Like, I don't know when. Well, like for the movie for sure, but I don't know about like the urban legend.
Urban legend.
That. Yeah.
I mean, phones only existed for like 5 years. Then Eric, that was like.
I just love that movie because it's what I love about horror movies. There's no over explanation. There's just this terrifying thing like this presented, and it kind of deals with the same thing the new movie does thematically, but in a way more subverted, subtle way. Like what it is to live as a female with like male violence and the male
Yeah.
gaze and like harassment.
And just like the belief, like nobody's really believing what
And
they're
yeah,
saying.
like,
And
oh, you're just this like
sorority girl.
crazy girl who's like, so emotional. No one's listening to them. It's the same themes, but I just prefer it wildly because it deals it with it on like a more visceral, like it's terrifying to me. Like those phone calls are like, they still give me goosebumps when I hear them.
Very,
like,
very
Jesus
creepy.
Christ.
I wish I could have watched it in a theater for the first time, because it is
I actually,
such
many years, I don't think it's many years ago, but like 4 years ago, I saw you played it at your theater and I saw it on the big screen there. And it was fantastic.
I'm jealous.
Of your theater.
That I wasn't sitting in there, because it is I think it would be one of the, it's just it's like watching Halloween for the first time. You want to watch it not at home, probably with the crowd. The other film I watched for the first time is Silent Night, Deadly Night from 1984.
I don't like that one.
It's a movie, I guess.
Did you see the sequel?
So I've heard there's 2 sequels that are much better than the first film.
I don't like any of them really. They're fine, but
I've heard that the 5th one, which is called The Toy Maker, and I couldn't find it anywhere. I'm sure it's somewhere. Is very good, but it's also like shouldn't even be a Silent Night movie.
Yeah.
Yeah. So I haven't seen it. I haven't seen the sequels. I'm not jumping up and down to do so, but if one person was to let me borrow it, I would do that. I guess I would give it a shot.
Is that a hint to our audience?
Yeah, drop off the collection to me, please. The last one I will talk about, because we don't need to talk about Gremlins, I don't think.
No.
Everyone loves that movie. We all know.
It's great.
Well, there's 2 more, but one of them, I don't know if you've seen this movie, but it was a lot of fun, and it's very light horror, but it's a horror adjacent film called Anna and the Apocalypse.
Ooh, I love it.
It's great. It was so charming and fun, which zombie movies don't work oftentimes anymore, and it found a way to do.
I know, yeah. A lot of zombie movies suck, and I don't really typically like musicals, but this was just delightful. And I did watch it with my daughter, and like it was great for both of us. We both loved it.
Yeah, it's fun. It's just it's like one you could watch pretty much with most anybody over age 10. Like, and it is one of those, but
yeah, as long as they've been like they understand the difference between make believe and what makeup is and all that, then it'll be fine. There's nothing like super disturbing in it. Just animated, silly violence and blood. And it's one of those movies that you can watch at Christmas time. It does take place at Christmas, and it does have Christmas stuff, but it's also great any time of the year. Like it's not just a Christmas movie.
Yeah. Well, I think that's our list. There's more out there certainly to watch. One I have to see that I also watched for the first time this year is called. It's got a number of different names, but it's a recent discovery in America because it never got official release in America. It's either called Dial Code Santa or Deadly Games.
Yeah,
this movie is amazing. I think you can watch it on Shudder now. It's definitely on Amazon to rent, but this is notable for being possibly the inspiration, maybe so much so that it was even stolen for the movie Home Alone. But this is a much more riskier, maybe more R-rated film that is just a fucking blast. I had so much fun. It's a PG-13 movie, I would say.
It's French, and it's about a Santa home invasion, so I'm already in.
Yeah, it's fun. It's not really funny. It's not as like, I love Home Alone. Home Alone's a very charming film, but this is more playful, I guess, and it's more creative. It feels kind of like it's an 80s version of what I imagine like a Michel Gondry film would look like if he had directed Home Alone, I guess. I don't know. It's a little bit more artful. But it follows a kid named Thomas who's left at home alone with his grandfather on Christmas Eve while his mom, who owns a big toy store, is working, her busiest nights. And then he connects this year, instead of mailing his letter to Santa, he's going to get on the internet and do it via the internet, where he can actually chat with Santa. Only he dials the wrong code, and he's like given to this public computer where this man dressed as Santa Claus talks to him on their line and learns where he is, and goes to his house and breaks in to quote unquote play with him. And it is an insane fucking movie. And you could definitely see the inspiration for Home Alone in it, but it's more abstract, I think, and playful, and a little scary in parts.
Well, Home Alone, it's a perfect example of just like direction and theme and like how they present things. Because you read the script for Home Alone, it's a horror movie, really. Like you can make it a horror movie with like 4 small changes. I think it's so that's always interesting to me.
Yeah, I agree. Yeah, so I think that's the list. That's a handful of movies you can chat that you probably haven't seen, or maybe some of you have. But yeah, I've had a good time watching these movies. There might be 1 or 2 I try to get in here. But I think Christmas Horror could be expanded. I think there's room for more movies to get in there.
I mean, especially if they tap into our first half hour and just start listening to some of the traditions. There's so many movies there.
Where's this Yule Lads movie? That's all we need here is the Yule Lads film.
The Christmas Witch. Come on.
Yeah, just put your broomsticks away and the movie's over. All
Brought to
right.
you by Swiffer.
Yeah. Is that it? Is that this episode?
I think so. Yeah, I think so.
So, yeah, good tidings to all. Right?
And to all
a good night.
Yeah.
Did we start caroling?
Yeah. Oh God, we did. What's happening?
Well, we got 1 more episode for the year for you. The next episode will be our best of 2020 list. This is going to be, it was a weird year, so we're just going to do, a handful of things that we, movies, non-movies, whatever we want to talk about that are the best horror related stuff of the year. Right?
Yeah, I'm excited. Yeah, I need to start looking at what I've done this year, what I've consumed.
Where have I been?
I don't know. It is really weird. Like it was February, everything was fine. Then it was December, and we've been locked inside.
Yep,
it's a weird year.
Well, we hope you have a safe and happy holiday, and you that maybe you catch a couple of these films, and that you keep your loved ones around you safe, and then next year, is just around the corner, and we could be doing this again next year, but maybe we'll do it in front of a live audience. Maybe things will be that great.
Oh yeah, that sounds amazing.
Yeah,
we'd all have like a drink together and chat about something. Oh yeah,
cookies and maybe some eggnog,
some gingerbread.
Yeah,
super glue.
All right. Well, the nightmare hour may be over, but the clock keeps ticking. I didn't do that right, but that's
good.
This was the Nightmare Hour podcast.
It was that. That's for sure. Thanks for joining us, and remember, Christmas is a lie, and happy holiday purge.